Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. We will discuss how you can assist veterans and their dependents with BBA's new Fully Developed Claims FDC program. I am Paulette Mayton, and I will be presenting today's webinar on Fully Developed Claims program along with Ms. Amy Canfield. This webinar is sponsored by the Benefits Assistance Service known as BAS, the outreach arm of Veterans Benefits Administration, charged with all outreach efforts to educate service members, veterans, and their families about VA benefits. Please note that your microphones are currently muted. However, there will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. We would like to strongly encourage you to submit any questions you may have during this presentation to the outreach mailbox. The address is outreach.bbaco@va.gov. To better serve you, please reference the slide number pertaining to your question. During this presentation, we will have periodic pollings that will allow feedback and allow us to gauge your understanding of the program. There are 5 goals for today's webinar: to explain the FDC program, to demonstrate how to submit an FDC electronically through Ebenefits, to provide you with the knowledge and tools to help veterans apply through the FDC program, to show you how a veteran can partner with a Veteran Service Organization or VSO, and to answer any questions you may have about the FDC program. The first item on our agenda is to provide you with the necessary background information to understand the FDC program. This background will include information about the veteran population as well as a brief review of disability compensation. During the main portion of the webinar, we will explain the Fully Developed Claims program, go in-depth on how to submit an FDC claim electronically through Ebenefits, and shorten the claims processing time. We will provide a summary of the main takeaways and next steps so you can help a veteran. In this background portion of the presentation, we will provide a general overview of VA benefits to include disability compensation, pension, and dependency and indemnity compensation. Additionally, we will touch on BBA's Transformation program, which will increase your understanding of the importance of the FDC program. First, I would like to capture how much you may already know about the claims process. We're going to take 2 polls. The first poll will ask whether or not you have helped a veteran submit a disability claim. You should see the poll pop up in your webinar sidebar. We'll wait about 30 to 45 seconds for participants to respond. Okay, it looks like a lot of you haven't had the opportunity to assist. Don't dismay, you're in the right place. We'll give you the information you need to assist veterans. The second poll question asks about the last time you assisted a veteran with his or her claim. We'll wait about 30 to 45 seconds on that one as well. Okay, based upon the polling, that's not many recent encounters there is. We're glad you're here to learn. Thanks for your participation in the polling. Up next is my esteemed colleague, Ms. Amy Canfield.
Thank you, Paulette. As you can see from the pictures on the screen I'm showing you, there are a variety of different groups of people eligible for VA benefits. Currently, there are 21.8 million living veterans, and of those, 12 million receiving VA benefits right now. Now, you may be wondering, who are eligible for VA benefits? Well, there are three main population groups who are usually eligible. Looking at the pictures here, you'll see a gentleman wearing a ball cap. He's a member of the first group. VA defines veterans as those individuals who are discharged from active duty service. Next, the next group eligible are service members. Service members are those shown on the left side of the screen right now wearing the uniform. This includes our National Guard and Reserve members. And lastly are our survivors of service members or dependents and survivors of veterans. Individuals in this category of eligibility are usually a spouse, a child, or a dependent parent. Now you may be thinking, what are those VA benefits available to the groups I just discussed? As you may or may not know, there are many benefits that we do not have time to discuss in depth today. However, to jog your memory a little before Paulette goes into the FDC process, I will review three of VA's benefits: disability compensation, pension, and dependency and indemnity compensation. Here we go. Disability compensation is a tax-free benefit paid to veterans for a disability received during service or for a disability they had prior to service, but was aggravated by service. VA pays compensation for physical and psychological disabilities. These include disabilities such as hearing loss and post-traumatic stress disorder. An important part of understanding how VA establishes the compensation benefit is knowing that VA must establish a link or nexus between the current disability the veteran has and the injury or event during service that caused the disability. To establish this link, VA will request evidence such as service treatment records or private medical documentation for review. On this slide, you're seeing the general eligibility requirements VA uses to establish the compensation benefit. Once again, the veteran needs a current disability that relates or originated during the active duty period the veteran served, and an other than dishonorable discharge from military service. To determine the benefit amount a veteran will receive, VA reviews multiple factors, including the degree of disability, the number of eligible dependents, and whether the veteran suffered from the loss or loss of use of specific organs or extremities. Now you may be thinking, what are some examples of claims for compensation VA receives? And don't worry, I'm not going to try to read your mind too much from here in Washington during this presentation, but I will answer your question. Some of the most common disability claims VA receives from veterans are hearing loss, tinnitus, which is also claimed as ringing in the ear, PTSD, and back strain. Now, compensation is the benefit we'll be using to walk you through the FDC electronic process today. But while we have you on the line, there are two other additional benefits that can be applied for using the FDC process. Veterans and survivors can file an FDC for veterans' pension and survivors' pension. On the screen now, you can see the eligibility requirements for veterans' pension. To qualify for veterans' pension, a veteran must have at least 90 days of active duty service with at least 1 day during wartime. And the veteran must be at least 65 years of age or permanently and totally disabled. You can learn more about these benefits on the Ebenefits website. Please check it out. All right, I've got you an overview of compensation and pension. Now let's look at DIC. DIC, which in long form is a tongue twister, dependency and indemnity compensation. I can't even say it right now. Try saying it a couple times yourself. What is DIC? I know I'm reading your mind again. Insert virtual smiley face here. DIC is a monthly tax-free benefit to an eligible surviving spouse, dependent child, or dependent parent of a deceased service member or veteran. For family members of service members to qualify for this benefit, the service member must have died while on active duty or during active duty for training. Eligibility requirements for family members of veterans are a little different. The veteran must have died from an injury or disease related to military service or from a non-service related disease or injury received while receiving VA compensation, that benefit I just told you about. In this instance, the veteran must have been receiving compensation from a service-connected disability determined by VA to be permanently and totally disabling. As with pension, the FDC process is available in paper form, but not yet virtually through Ebenefits. We are working hard to bring you this feature soon. So many benefits, so little time. All right, Paulette, can you tell our listeners about BBA Transformation, which, as I understand it, the reason we have such cool programs like Ebenefits and the FDC process?
Sure, Amy. Moving forward, BBA is on the move and is currently transforming the claims process by creating an electronic processing system as well as implementing a new operating model. As a result of BBA's transformation efforts, the Fully Developed Claims FDC program was born. To learn more about BBA's transformation, you can access VA's website at benefits.va.gov/transformation. Before we dive into the FDC program, let's do a quick poll, just to see how knowledgeable you are about the program right now. You will see the poll pop up in the webinar sidebar. We'll wait about 30 to 45 seconds for the participants to respond. Okay, based upon the polling, looks like not too many are familiar with the FDC program, but that's all right. You're here to learn. We will now review the FDC process and how you can assist veterans with their claims. While FDCs can be submitted for disability compensation, pension, and DIC, today we will focus on showing you how to file an FDC claim for disability compensation. These are points to keep in mind as we move forward through the slides. Submitting a fully developed claim online is the fastest way to get a disability compensation claim processed. Ebenefits is the online tool that gives veterans, service members, and their families instant access to Department of Defense and VA information. With Ebenefits, the user can submit fully developed claims online and check the status of his or her claim 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Simultaneously, submitting as much information that supports a disability claim as possible will speed up the VA claims process. This includes medical evidence, treatment dates, discharge papers, and dependency records. Partnering with a veteran service organization can also help the veteran gather the necessary information to submit the claim more quickly. FDC program is a new program in BBA's transformation that is designed to improve service to veterans and service members, eliminate the disability claims backlog, and meet Secretary Shinseki's goal of processing claims within 125 days at 98% accuracy by the end of 2015. First, I will provide you some background information about the veteran population and recent trends. VA designed the FDC program to dramatically expedite the claims decision process by enabling veterans and their families to submit all evidence and medical records simultaneously at the time they submit their claim and certify that they have no further evidence to submit. The veteran submits all needed evidence at the time he or she submits the claim, such as private treatment records and buddy statements. Once the veteran certifies that there is no further evidence, this allows VA to proceed with the claim without waiting the mandatory 30 days for a response, as required under federal law. Since the FDC program began nationwide in June 2010, VA completed more than 75,000 FDC claims. Let's talk a little bit about Ebenefits. Ebenefits allows veterans to view information about benefits, apply, and view claim status for disability compensation, pension, and other VA benefits. This is the quickest way for veterans to file an FDC and receive the benefits they earn for their service. Additionally, Ebenefit users have 24/7 access to view their claim status. It is essential that you remind veterans to register for VA's online portal, Ebenefits. Let's stop and do a quick poll here to see how many of you have heard of Ebenefits before today. Please use the polling feature in your sidebar to answer the question when prompted. We will wait about 30 to 45 seconds for the participants to respond. Okay, based upon the polling, it looks like a lot of you know about Ebenefits. Way to go. So now that we've heard about the Ebenefits portal, let's talk about VA electronic claim submission. Veterans Online Application, known as VONAP Direct Connect, VDC, is a web-based interface within Ebenefits that intakes claims. VDC pre-populates information and helps veterans navigate through the online claim submission process by using interview-style questions. The information is loaded directly into the Veterans Benefits Management System, VBMS, for paperless claims processing. As mentioned earlier, VSOs can assist veterans with filing FDC claims. What is a VSO? A VSO is an official representative who can help the veteran through the FDC program by acting as the veteran's power of attorney, often referred to as the POA. Acting as the POA will allow the VSO to gather required records and evidence on behalf of the veteran, in addition to reviewing the veteran's application prior to submission. This allows the VSO to check for any missing evidence or information. When applying for an FDC online through Ebenefits, a veteran has the option to choose a veteran service organization at no cost who serves as an advocate on behalf of the veteran during the claims process. This slide gives you a quick snapshot of our current FDC processing timeliness. VA has completed more than 75,000 FDCs since implementing the program in June 2010. On average, BDCs provide an overall improvement of approximately 50% in claims processing timeliness. Amy?
Wow, Paulette, geez, I hate following after you. I know our audience must be on the edge of their seats as we speak. Would you mind helping me go through some of the processes of the electronic FDC process? Everyone, she's shaking her head yes right now in virtual land. I know you can't see her. All right, so here we go. To start, I'm going to be showing you the process from the veteran's point of view, and Paulette will be assisting me. That way, you'll be able to answer questions from the veteran that they have when filing an FDC electronically through that cool program, Ebenefits, which Paulette did such a great job reviewing. Additionally, right now, we want to familiarize you with the electronic claims process and what VA needs to get this done and better serve our veterans together. There are 9 steps. You see them listed here on the screen. Before we dive into step 1, I just want to hit home that the easiest way, the fastest way to file an FDC is electronically through ebenefits.va.gov. Got it? Oh, and one last thing. I want you to know you want to hear about step 1, and I know you want to hear about step 1, but because we want everyone to use FDC and Ebenefits, it's important to note right now that the veteran has 1 year to complete the application from the time the claims process is started. Yep, 1 year. That means you could start today even if you don't have everything together. Okay, because I threw a ton of information at you, I've combined step 1 and 2. You're welcome. You can see on this slide the details of step 1 and 2. So I'll just briefly talk you through them instead of reading them. Visualize with me right now a veteran wanting to file an FDC. See her sitting by her computer wondering what to do next? Great, well I'm going to tell you. As you see, she's logged on to Ebenefits, of course. Next, she's going to be looking for the Compensation Benefit tab. Once clicked, she's going to be reading the legal terms and agreement, which will pop up. Now she and all veterans have to agree with this before continuing on. Once agreed upon, she'll continue on to step 2. She's entering her VA file number. What's that? I hear a question out there. You don't remember your VA file number? Do not fret. The veteran can click, I do not have a VA file number, and we'll get that for you. Now the veteran's entered her file number. We have some more terms and conditions to read through. Once done, she's going to click Save and Continue, which moves her on to step 3. That was painless enough. Step 3. Step 3 of the process is where the veteran's given an opportunity to select a representative, which Paulette discussed earlier. We encourage all veterans and encourage you to encourage all veterans to request a Veteran Service Organization, aka VSO, to serve as a power of attorney. This will allow the VSO to collect relevant documents and evidence necessary to submit an FDC electronically. Another advantage, the VSO will have the opportunity to review the claim before the veteran submits it. This will ensure that all the necessary evidence is complete. And this will result in VA processing the veteran's claims faster. Doesn't that make everybody happy? Right now on your screen, I'm showing you a screenshot of what the veteran will see when she wants to find a VSO in her area. Here, the veteran's going to select Recognized Veteran Service Organization, and then select Search by State Territory or select a location and enter the appropriate information to them. Now I'm showing you the screenshot of what the veteran sees when the result comes back. Here, the veterans will be given a list of VSOs to choose from. I encourage you to encourage veterans to write down the information of the person they'll end up selecting before moving on to the next screen. Why? Because you VSOs out there in Cyberland watching this presentation will now be able to help all of our veterans file an FDC electronically because of this presentation. How cool. We want them to call you. Once the veteran hits select, the veteran is going to choose the representative, and they're going to be notified. Phew. Paulette, can you pick up on step 4?
No problem, Amy. Step 4. The veteran will start identifying relevant records that verify service history, provide information about service, and military pay. Here's a good tip for veterans. Ensure that all questions are answered, and don't forget to click Save. Step 5. The veteran should select the type of disability claim. On the disability records page, the following actions can be conducted. Claim a new disability to have a new disability considered for VA benefits, or request increase to seek an increased evaluation of a service-connected disability, or request to reopen a disability that was previously not found to be service-connected. This chart denotes what type of evidence is necessary for which type of claim. For example, if the claimant is filing for increased disability, he or she will need current evidence that shows his or her disability has gotten worse. Most types of claims require some type of medical evidence that shows that the condition exists, the degree of impairment, and increased severity. VA medical records are federal records. However, here is where the claimant can also request and submit copies of relevant private medical treatment records from his or her private medical provider. It is important to note that if the claimant requests VA assistance in gathering medical evidence, his or her claim will not be processed as an FDC. Let me repeat. It is important to note that if the claimant requests VA assistance in gathering medical evidence, his or her claim will not be processed as an FDC. If the claimant received treatment at a VA medical facility or center, he or she will be prompted to provide relevant information, like the name of the medical center, the dates of treatment. Otherwise, the veteran will be taken to the direct deposit page. VA's disability benefits questionnaires are often referred to as DBQs, are a perfect complement to the FDC program and places the claimant in the driver's seat of the benefits claim process. After a claimant submits an FDC, there may be a requirement to attend a VA examination to evaluate a claimed medical condition. By submitting a completed DBQ along with an FDC, it eliminates the need to attend a VA examination, putting the claimant in a position to receive VA benefits decision in the most expeditious way possible. These forms provide medical information that is directly relevant to determining a disability rating and ensure that VA's rating specialists have the necessary information to process the claim. Who can complete a DBQ? Private and VA medical providers are qualified to complete these forms. When filing electronically, gather completed DBQs from your medical providers and upload them through the Ebenefits system. As stated earlier by Amy, the claimant will need to submit any relevant private medical evidence, which includes things like treatment notes from physicians, hospital records, and outpatient records. Because the claimant has up to 1 year to complete and submit an FDC in Ebenefits, if he or she does not have all of the necessary evidence on hand, they should save the claim before exiting the application and revisit Ebenefits at a later time to upload the additional information. Remember to tell the veteran to click Save to ensure the information provided is not lost. When in doubt, click Save.
Hey, that's awesome, and we're almost done. I'm displaying step 7 right now for you all. As you can see, there are some circumstances where VA needs additional evidence in general. At step 7 of the process, the veteran will submit this additional information, and hopefully with the help of you all out there listening. The chart you're looking at outlines exactly what the additional information is and what is needed for each of the case types. Let's go over one for fun. I'm listening to your thoughts again and hear that you're all wondering about individual unemployability, or IU. Cool. If a veteran was applying for individual unemployability, there are 2 additional forms that are needed by VA. See that last box in the corner there, which matches up with the IU claim? That is where you see the additional information needed for individual unemployability. Continuing on, you'll see some additional special circumstances and the necessary requirements. Use this chart just how I did right now. First, by looking for the circumstance and then matching it up with the additional information. This is one of the great ways you can assist VA in helping our veterans file an FDC electronically. VA needs all the information next to the special circumstance in order to process the claim as an FDC. So use this chart. It's a super big deal. We really could use some of your help out there getting this information. Now I'm displaying for you on the screen the veteran will see when they're uploading documents, which is step 8. Next to the screenshot are the detailed instructions of uploading a document. Fun fact about how great Ebenefits is. After a document's uploaded, the system checks the files for errors. Yep, so if the stars aren't aligned in virtual computer land and the veteran's document does not upload, Ebenefits is going to let you know. How awesome. All right, here we are at the end of our FDC electronic application. The veteran you were imagining earlier is so excited to be almost done, but step 9 is very important. Please, ma'am, I'm going to need you to sit back down and review your application. Yep, that's step 9. This page, our veteran is looking to see if any information is incorrect or missing. And if the information is missing, this page is going to tell her and let her navigate back and correct prior to submitting. Once the review is done and no errors are found, the veteran must certify that all the information and evidence to support the claim is enclosed. The veteran in your mind is carefully reviewing the screen. She's now clicked the checkbox next to the terms and conditions, and she's hit the submit button. And at the same time, VA is receiving her claim, and she's receiving a confirmation number and notice at the Ebenefits message center and a message to her personal email address. That's right, all at the same time. She's so excited, she's jumping up and down in your head right now. As Paula mentioned earlier, the veteran at any time can check back on her claim status by logging on to Ebenefits. So cool. So that's it. Those are the 9 steps the veteran will go through to complete VA's electronic FDC process. Paulette, can you go over some additional application info you were talking to me about this morning?
Sure, Amy. Now I will review some additional information about the FDC application. It is essential to note, in order to file an FDC, the veteran must submit all relevant private medical treatment records. Additionally, the veteran must identify any relevant treatment records available at a federal facility, for example, a VA medical facility or a VA medical center or Social Security Administration. Once the veteran has filed the FDC, VA will then retrieve relevant records from federal facilities and provide a medical exam for the veteran, if deemed necessary, to decide the claim. What types of evidence is needed for the various types of claims? The evidence table shown explains what evidence a claimant needs to submit to support the claim. As stated earlier, previously VA had to wait up to 30 days for a veteran to respond to a duty to assist notice before a VA could tell them what evidence is needed for the claimant to file the claim. Now these evidence tables are available within the application itself, so the veteran has access to this information from the start, which reduces the claim processing time by approximately 30 days. Development of an FDC claim. VA will request the federal records the claimant identifies as relevant. In some cases, VA will send the claimant a development letter for more information. We have been talking about electronic claim submission, FDC claims throughout the presentation, but what does the new FDC form look like? This is a screenshot of what the new paper FDC forms look like. VA Form 21526EZ is integrated into the Ebenefits system, but the others are not yet and must be filled out on a paper and uploaded based upon the veteran circumstances. The three forms on the last slide are comprised of two parts: the notice of evidence necessary to substantiate a claim for veterans' disability compensation and related benefits, and the actual application. The notice contains all the instructions, evidence, tables, etc. that a veteran will need to file his or her claim. Here's a bit more background on exclusions from the FDC program, which we touched on earlier. A claimant can be excluded from the FDC program for a variety of reasons, especially if he or she has not provided the required evidence. If this happens, the claim will be removed from the FDC program and will go through the standard process for benefit determination. In the event that a claim is excluded from the FDC program, the veteran is notified. I will now go over a quick summary of the main points we discussed today and provide you with a few resources to help veterans navigate the FDC program. But first, I'd like to do a quick poll to see how you heard about this presentation. You know the drill. Access the webinar poll pop-up. We'll wait about 30 to 45 seconds for the participants to respond. Via email. That's great. Email is the fastest way to get the message out. Thank you. To summarize what we've learned today, we strongly encourage veterans to file a disability compensation or pension claim through the FDC program because it allows VA to expedite the claims process. Filing an FDC electronically through Ebenefits is the easiest way for a veteran to file, and it makes the process even faster. Veterans should request a VSO to represent them in the claims process. VSOs can help gather records and answer questions, which makes the claims process faster. They can also review the application prior to submission and check for missing information or evidence. This ensures that the claim is filed correctly for quicker processing. The links above are additional resources for veterans. We can't stress Ebenefits enough. It's VA one-stop shop for veterans to learn about and apply for their benefits. So go there, take a look, and encourage veterans to do so as well and create an account. Ebenefits even links to the FDC link we've included above. And of course, you can follow VA on Facebook and Twitter. Before we transition into the Q&A session, let's do a quick poll to see how much you feel you have learned from this webinar. This is the last one, y'all. You know the drill. Okay, based upon the pollings, it looks like you guys have learned a lot. I'll turn the presentation over to the Q&A section that are eagerly awaiting to provide responses to the questions submitted during the session and the outreach mailbox. Q&A?
Thank you, Paulette and Amy, so much for presenting this FDC information. Just so all our listeners are aware, we will send out a following email over the next couple of days with a link to the presentation in case you would like to review it or share it with your colleagues. Here is a screenshot of the online webinar tools question function, which you'll find it on the right side of the computer screen. Preferably, please send all email questions to outreach.vbaco@va.gov. Once again, that's outreach.vbaco@va.gov. Please note that we can only take questions about today's webinar and the topics we covered. To protect your privacy in this public forum, we unfortunately cannot accept questions or comments about a specific veteran or specific claim issue. To better serve you, please reference a relevant slide number pertaining to your question where appropriate. We have 3 subject matter experts today from VA to answer your questions. James Dyer is a training specialist in compensation services. Brendan Garcia is a compensation service procedure analyst. And Frank Bryceland is an Ebenefits team lead. On to the SMEs for our Q&A session.
All right, let's get started with our first question. Once a regular claim has been filed, can it be converted by the veteran or his VSO to an FDC with the uploaded addition of all supporting information?
That's a good question. Once a claim has been submitted, you can no longer add additional information if you want to keep it in the FDC program. However, on Ebenefits, you can stop and save your work at any time, come back within 1 year, and submit all information while at the same time saving your date of claim. Once you have finally submitted it, however, the claim will start processing.
Okay, that's great, Brendan. Thanks. Next question.
Yes, submitting the disability benefits questionnaire along with the FDC application will expedite and, in most cases, eliminate the necessary exam portion of the claims process.
Okay, great. Our next question is, how easy is it to file a claim on Ebenefits?
It's very easy. Once you establish your account by going to the site, www.ebenefits.va.gov, you click on Register. Once you have established your account, you'll see a tab named Apply for Benefits. Simply go on there and process the 9 different steps you learned about, and it's very easy, and you establish the data claim there, even if you come back within a year to upload more information and evidence.
Another question we have coming in, if a claim is filed as an FDC and doesn't meet the criteria, what happens to the claim?
If you file a claim as an FDC and VA determines that more information or evidence is needed to process the claim, it will remove the claim from the FDC program and process it routinely.
Let's hold for a couple of seconds while we review or we take a look at some of the other incoming questions. All right, we just got another question in. Will filing an FDC ensure a higher disability rating or simply a quicker response from the VA?
Let's make sure that we are all on the same page. The FDC program is simply a streamlined processing tool that will eliminate the long waits that are in place currently. It has nothing to do with the actual rating schedule or higher disability itself.
All right, next question. If the claim is removed from the FDC program, is there a way to re-enroll in the FDC program?
Unfortunately, once the claim has been removed from the FDC program, it must be and will be done through the regular claims process.
Thanks, James. The next question coming in. If I am not happy with the decision on my FDC, do I have the same appeal rights as if I filed a regular claim?
Yes, you still have the same appeal rights as if you filed your claim under the regular process. You will have up to 1 year from the date of decision to file a notice of disagreement with VA.
Great. It looks like we have a couple of questions about e-benefits. Here's the next question. How hard is it to upload documents and or evidence into e-benefits?
It's not very hard at all. You go back and view your status of your claim you submitted, and down towards the bottom right-hand side, you'll see 2 tabs that allow you to upload documents. The restrictions are each document could be no larger than 5 megabytes each, and you can send 2 documents at a time, and there's no restriction of how many times you could go back to load more documents. But as an example, let's say your medical record has 10 documents and you have it as a PDF file. That one, if it's less than 5 megs, could be uploaded in that one tab, and then any other, like an X-ray, could be uploaded in the second tab. Again, 2 documents at a time, 5 megabytes each. No restriction on number of times you upload documents.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick look and see some of the other questions that are coming in. All right, we have another question coming in. Is the veteran's date of claim established when they first save the FDC, or is it established when the submit button is finally pushed?
That's a great question. The date of claim is saved when the first initial information is entered into eBenefits and the claim is established. Once you have established the claim, you have up to 1 year to submit all the information and evidence you want to submit and final submit the claim to VA on eBenefits.
All right, here's the next question. Is there income limits for DIC?
No, there is no income restrictions for DIC claims.
All right. Can evidence documents be from non-military care facilities?
Yes, you may submit medical evidence from your private physician or any private treatment that you received, as well as treatment received at VA facilities or while in the military.
Thanks, Brendan. All right, we have a couple more e-benefits questions. Can an FDC be submitted with just a basic account in eBenefits, or do they need a premium account in eBenefits?
Both for the upload of documents, apply for benefits, and view claim status, you must have a premium, or also known as a level 2 account, the highest level premium account in eBenefits.
All right, we have another eBenefits question coming in. Can a surviving spouse create an eBenefits account?
Yes, we encourage survivors to create an eBenefits account. They must use their own Social Security number, date of birth, and information, because DIC payment history and when they're able to submit a DIC claim will be important for them to do this through eBenefits.
All right, it looks like this next question is for James. How can you become a VSO?
That's a good question. There are several steps. I would encourage any person who wishes to represent veterans as a veteran service officer to contact the local veteran service organization, and they will provide further steps to become an accredited veteran service officer.
Let's take a moment to go through some of the questions that are being submitted right now. All right, our next question is coming in through our federal record.
That's a very good question, and unique to the FDC program. As you learned during the webinar, anything, any evidence that's required to be sought out by the agency with a 21-4142 is not allowed, for one exception. Vet records are considered federal records, and we will process and keep the claim in the FDC program to go out and retrieve vet records from the vet centers.
Okay, thanks. Our next question, is it too late to request a VSO once you've applied online?
No, it is not too late to request a VSO if you've already filed a claim online. You can do this either through Ebenefits or by visiting your VSO and requesting that they fill out a power of attorney form.
All right, looks like we have a couple more E-Benefits questions coming in. Does an E-Benefits premium account cost money?
No, there's no charge for a basic or premium account or anything that we do in E-Benefits. Totally free to the veteran, service member, and dependents.
Great. All right, looks like we have another question about E-Benefits. Is there a size limit to the attachments that can be uploaded?
Yes. Again, there's a restriction, the size of one document, and we could upload 2 at a time. Each document could be no larger than 5 megabytes each, and there's no limit to the number of times you upload documents.
Okay, great. We're going to hold for a few seconds while we take a look at some of the other questions that are coming in. All right, looks like we have a question about the FDC process. Can you withdraw the initial claim and
When you do withdraw a claim that's already been the data claim that was protected from the previous claim.
Okay, great. Our next question, is the information we entered encrypted and protected?
Yeah, not only by password when you get in, but also the various security programs within the database and the server. And again, it's a portal, so it's not holding data. It's just retrieving data securely from other programs. Also, there's another question. Please tell us what a level 2 account is. We consider a level 1 or basic account or a level 2 a premium account. So it's not only a basic, but that's a level 1, or a premium, that's a level 2.
Okay, we have another question coming in as well. If a veteran files within 1 year of separation from service, what will the effective date of the claim be? If a veteran files a claim within 1 year separation from service, the effective date can be up to the date of separation, depending on the circumstances.
All right. We have another question. Is having a VSO or obtaining a power of attorney necessary?
It's not necessary, but we do encourage using our power of attorney with the service officers. They have a lot of experience in helping our veterans, and we encourage you to use them as a resource.
All right, looks like this next question is pretty popular. How long does it typically take to complete an FDC?
Yes, an FDC right now is processed on average nationally in 129 days. That's approximately half the time it takes to process a routine claim. VA is currently aiming to bring this number down to 90 days average time to complete, and we're getting closer to this all the time.
Okay, that's great. Our next question, can a private physician complete a DBQ for a vet who is filing a new or original claim?
Yes, there are only 8 DBQs that are restricted and for VHA only. And we do encourage private physicians to fill out the DBQs.
Our next question, how do veterans without access to the internet file an FDC?
That's a great question. We still accept paper copies of FDCs that can be mailed in to your local regional office, or you can seek help from a VSO in filing an FDC if you do not have internet access.
Another question just coming in, how can I turn my paper documents into an electronic form to submit?
Good question. Once you have a paper document, you would need to scan it into an electronic file and follow the instructions on Ebenefits to upload a document.
Okay, great. Can newly discharged veterans FDC system?
Yes, without a doubt, it's encouraged that they file a claim before they're out of service and get it processed, and they can use Ebenefits in filing that claim.
Okay, great. Looks like this next question is for Frank as well. How do I obtain my DD?
Question, because it made life easier for those veterans looking for DD-214s who had to go to the National Archives before. When you get your premium account, you could go through and you'll see the tab for requesting official military personnel forms. That file allows you to request a DD-214 or up to about 20 different documents that you want. You're actually giving the system an email, and you're getting an email back that your documents are ready for viewing. As a portal, you have to do something with that document, by the way. Save it, PDF it, whatever, because when you log out, that document goes away. A portal does not keep that data in there.
All right, our next question. Do veterans need to be seen at a VA hospital to apply for compensation benefits?
No, veterans do not need to be seen at a VA hospital to apply for compensation benefits. They can submit records from their private physician.
Okay, looks like we have a couple of questions about the paper form. Where can I get access to fill out the paper version?
You can use their paper forms are available at BBA.
The VA website.
Yeah.
VOMAC. They can go to www.va.gov and print out the VA forms they're looking for.
Okay, great. This next question, can you file a claim for PTSD as an FDC?
Yes, as you saw in the presentation, using the special circumstances, you just need to ensure that you file the required forms as necessary.
Okay, let's hold for a couple of seconds while we check in on some of the questions being submitted. Looks like we have another Ebenefits question. What is the difference between a premium and basic account?
Okay, well, the basic account gives very limited access. Really, the basic level 1 account will allow you to see some links, some favorite sites, and access to the VA Home Loan Certificate of Eligibility document. Other than that, every other feature requires a premium account to view your claim status, apply for benefits, and so many other of the features. So we always recommend someone gets a premium level 2 account because the basic level 1 account is very limiting.
Okay, looks like we have another question coming in. If submitting the FDC, will it automatically be taken out of the FDC process if a physician's name is provided on a VA form 21-4142 for pension claim?
If you submit a VA form 21-4142, your claim cannot remain in the FDC program. This is because VA must go out and get this information. If you want to stay in the FDC program, you should obtain the medical records prior to applying and submit those along with your FDC application.
All right, our next question is about Ebenefits. Does it cost anything to get your DD-214?
No, and that's a great question. There may be other methods to get a DD-214 that does cost the veteran money, but in Ebenefits, it goes through the official military personnel file. It's absolutely free, and you should be able to get a DD-214 within a few minutes.
Next question. What types of things can a VSO do for my claim? Should I meet with the VSO prior to sending in my claim?
Yes, there are numerous things that the VSO can do for you. We recommend that you do meet with a Veteran Service Officer before and prior to sending in your claim.
Okay, great. Looks like we have another question. If you already have an FDC application in process, will creating an account at ebenefits.va.gov have any effect on the original application?
That's a good question. Simply creating an account on Ebenefits will not have any negative effect on your FDC application and process. However, it will allow you to log on to Ebenefits and check the status of that claim.
Let's look back and see at some of the other questions coming in. All right, using the SET program, can I upload the veteran's application and submit it?
As a VSO, you can assist your client in filling out the application, the form, but you cannot submit it. It has to be signed by and submitted by the veteran. In the future, we do plan that a VSO will be able to help their client and actually submit the documents and upload anything for the veteran.
Okay, great. Our next question, can a veteran change their VSO in the process?
Yes, you can change your VSO at any time by filing a new VA Form 2122 or by contacting the new VSO you'd like to use and having them fill the form while you sign it.
All right, please hold while we look into some of the other questions that are being submitted. All right, we have another question coming in. So does the VA not need any hard copy documents in deciding my claim?
Correct. Once they use the FDC process in filing a claim, uploading evidence and supporting documents, it's all electronic. They will not need any hard copy documents.
Please hold while we take a look at some of the other questions coming in. All right. Does VBA have a preference of VA physicians as opposed to private providers for information on claims?
That's a good question. We as an agency do not have a preference to the medical evidence that we receive.
All right, well, it looks like we've had quite a few questions coming in, and now that concludes our question and answer session. I'll now turn it back for the summary of slides.
Thank you so much. Great. Thank you so much to everyone for your wonderful questions. This has been a very engaging dialogue. I would like to reiterate that we were only able to answer questions regarding the content of today's webinar to protect your privacy. We were unable to answer any questions that contained personal information. And now to Paulette to conclude this webinar.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'll just like participating in the polling sessions as well. We hope you found this webinar to be helpful and that you will be able to apply the knowledge you've learned today to help our nation's heroes access the benefits they've earned and deserve. We will send out a follow-up email inviting you to complete the webinar evaluation. We ask that you complete this evaluation because we value your feedback, and we would like to continue to improve our webinars and address topics that are of interest to you. Thanks